For the building department, I approved hiring Zoran Anachik. I think that's how
We're
it's
challenging you today. It's nice.
to the position of full-time multi-certified inspector for number 1112 to be effective March 3rd, 2025 at the rate of $41.22 per hour, grade 15, step 11, with a 1-year probationary period. This offer of employment is contingent upon the successful completion of the required pre-employment conditions. That's it.
Thank you. Financial.
We have, oh, no, never, okay, that's right, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
My fault. Good morning.
Morning.
So today's financials include a supplementals from the juvenile probate court in the general fund, indigent drivers, CASA, special projects, conduct of business, and computerization funds to establish their core order of appropriations for their 2025 budget submission. For supplementals from community development in their demo and site revitalization, brownfield remediation grant and block grant funds to reestablish contracts and continue projects into this year. And a supplemental from the treasurer's office in their general fund repair services account to provide funds for the increased costs associated with the Microsoft 365 licenses for this year. Among the encumbrances is a travel request from ADP to attend the Extreme Ownership Leadership Conference, a then and now from the Common Police Court to Forensic Psychology Center of Northeast Ohio for evaluations from 2024 that were not previously encumbered, and a formal contract from maintenance to Verdades Architecture Incorporated for professional design and contract administration services related to the annex basement project. Among the vouchers is $44,475.80 from the Commissioner's Office to Trumbull County Auditor for Geauga County's pro rata share of the 11th District Court of Appeals budgeted costs for 2025, offset by a credit from 2024. And finally, a $7,680 from JFS to Great Lakes Truck Driving School for workforce investment expenses related to their CDL driver training program.
A motion for financial.
So Jerry, or Adrian, on that financial with the NS project, looking at that, what was the total on that? 36,000, was it?
The annex project.
For the
The engineering.
yeah, for the engineering.
Oh, is that what it is?
36,000.
Chuck's
36,000? Yes.
So that was approximately 1,100 square foot.
Right.
I do not know any of
I
the
mean,
specifications.
How much?
1160.
1160. So we're looking at approximately how much does that bring that to a square foot?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
So we're paying $31 a square foot to do that. And I just think that that's pretty high. I mean, just think about that 1,100 square foot, the total area, the dimensions of that space, if you had to guesstimate, is about how much?
What, sorry?
Well, what's the dimensions of that? Like 40 by 45 or something?
It's 45 to, I think, 30 something. 45 by 30 something.
It's almost the size smaller than some garages. A garage that's in a residence, and complete garage construction. To look at that number, 36,000 just for engineering at $36 a square foot. I would say this, I'll vote for the financials. I'm not going to vote for, I would exclude myself as a no vote on that item, because I think that that's just absolutely absorbent amount of money that I don't think anybody, if they were doing their own project, would accept such a quote for 1,100 square foot space.
Yeah, I'm not sure what sort of Obviously, the annex basement is a fairly unique environment,
Sure.
so I'm not sure if,
I
there are
understand.
additional costs associated with that, so.
Well, it included a bathroom, right? Isn't that correct?
It includes a bathroom, it includes reworking the HVAC as well as um, the alarming system as well for the fire suppression. So all that is a rework. The ceiling has to be raised, it has to be reworked a little bit because there's a portion of it that's too low for code. So if you're putting a conference room in there, you have to address that issue as well. So there's a number of significant structural and plumbing and HVAC issues that need to be reworked.
And I
It's
guess,
all designed, every one of those is a new design and a new
Right.
analysis.
right, and I guess, and I sound like a broken record saying this, but I know that, when we did the, appraisals of the building and the evaluations of the building, that building failed. It was an actual F, I believe. And we still went ahead and had people that wanted to remain in that building with the understanding that at some point in time, this is, once again, we're throwing good money at bad, and that's just gonna continue to just keep on going. I'll stand with the way that I'm gonna vote is vote yes on the rest of the financial, but no on that specific line.
Can we remove that from the financials and just vote on it as a separate item? Is there any way to do that?
Yeah. But I just make a motion to approve the financials as is.
Second.
And then Commissioner Spiller has expressed that he's going to know in that line item, maybe like on the financial itself. Then next to it, you could include your vote
Okay.
in that, so it's included in the journal.
Fair enough.
Commissioner Spiller,
Yes.
Commissioner Brayfield,
Yes.
Commissioner DeWalt.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm Lisa with Geauga Water Conservation District. My title is Conservation Technician. I'm here today on behalf of Water Conservation District requesting the board issue a finding of violation against Stacy Cruz and Nicolina Benzel regarding construction activities occurring at 11425 Aquila Road in Clarendon Township for failure to comply with the Geauga County Water Management and Sediment Control Regulations, Section 3.01 and 7.02, by not submitting or obtaining approved water management and sediment control plan and failure to prevent excess sediment from leaving their property, as identified on the first notice of violation dated November 25th, 2024, and the second notice of violation dated December 30th, 2024, as indicated on those inspection reports, and further forward the finding violation to the Geauga County prosecutor for further action as necessary to secure compliance.
Is Mr. Crude also an owner of the property? That was a little unclear to me, because it seemed like some of the documents were just directed to her as
Yeah.
owner. So both of them are owners.
No, Nicolina is the only owner, but her partner Stacy has been the only point of contact that and she is deferred me to him.
Okay, so but the finding of violation then, should that be against both of them or just the owner of the property?
In the past, when he came last year, we did it to both of them, since that was the point of contact that I have and the only contact that I was making.
Okay. It just seemed if he's living there, but he's not the property owner. I mean, I don't know though, but that would be, that's a question for the prosecutor.
Okay,
But I flagged that because it looked like he was the only owner, but I saw the correspondence. He was the one that, or she was the only owner, but he was the one that was responding to the email.
correct.
Okay. All right. So I just flagged that as
Okay,
make sure you have the right party when you file this, but
will do.
I mean, it looks like you've been handling this for a very long time without satisfactory
I've been trying
resolution.
to work with them yet.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was wondering what this property was, because I've driven by this a bunch of times. I wondered what was going on. So
Yeah, and we've been fielding a lot of phone calls and complaints
bet.
from the neighbor about their pond.
Yeah.
So we're doing that to them.
yeah, and it's on kind of a high traffic road, so a lot of people are.
It's visible for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to approve 3.
Second.
Commissioner Spiller,
I,
Commissioner Brayfield,
Hi.
Commissioner DeWalt.
Yes.
Thank you. Jessica Bold, Director, Geauga County Department on Aging. I am here as a result of our 123-25 meeting and the board approving resolution 2513, which was the certificate of need for the renewal of the 1 mill levy for the senior services. In number 4, I'm asking that the board acknowledge the receipt of the certificate of estimated property tax revenue regarding the renewal of the 1 mill levy for the purpose of providing or maintaining senior citizens services or facilities. The certificate of estimated property tax revenue submitted by the auditor, the calculated revenue projected is $3,330,000 that we are looking to receive. And the one mill levy per $1 taxable value amounts to about $21 rounded to the nearest dollar for each $100,000 of the county auditor's increased value.
Do you know the collection percentage? Because I see that certificate of need, like it talks about at 100% collection. So do you know what we're typically?
I do not know what the typical collection percentage is. I think they
suspect
base
it's not
it on,
100.
they do base it on 100% collection, but I do not assume that we get 100% collection.
Right.
So that is number 4.
Do you want to move on to 5 and then we can just?
Absolutely. Number 5, requesting the board approve and execute resolution 2517, declaring it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation as authorized by revised code 570503, 19, 25, and 26 for the purpose of providing or maintaining senior citizen services or facilities.
Make a motion to close.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Brinkley.
Aye.
Commissioner Geauga.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Happy birthday. What she said, except half for JFS. No, similarly, we're here for Department of Job and Family Services. Again, ours is a 0.5 mil levy renewal. It actually is about half of what Jessica's, about 1.6, I believe. And it's for $12 per $100,000 valuation. Again, it's just a straight renewal for 5 years. We're asking you guys to recognize the certificate and support to place it on the vouchers.
I wanted to ask all the same questions I asked last meeting, but more.
Please save everybody. Any questions?
Make a motion on 6 and 7.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Brinkley.
Aye.
Commissioner Geauga.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Greatly appreciate it.
Should have brought my easy button. That was easy.
You're tough.
Matt Saraki, contract coordinator, maintenance department. So I have 8 and 9 today. Number 8 is we are requesting the board accept a performance bond from Air Force One Incorporated for the 2025 to 2028 Hill HVAC maintenance services and further release the bid bond.
Make a motion to approve 8 and 9.
Second.
Hold on a second. You said you had 9.
Yeah.
And we did 8, so just want to make sure.
Oh.
We're on the
Go ahead and read 9.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm ready to go today.
I just want to make sure.
All right, so the number 9 is the maintenance department is requesting the board approve and execute the contract agreement with North Bay Construction Company Incorporated for the Geauga County Annex Generator upgrade in the amount of $146,500. Bid bond submitted shall be held to serve as the performance bond on this project.
I'll make that motion. This motion's already been made.
Yeah, so call question.
Okay, so we have Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Brinkley.
Aye.
Commissioner Geauga.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Morning, bud.
Okay.
Introduce me.
What's that?
Introduce yourself. please.
Oh,
For the
Charles,
first
Charles T. Kent, Maintenance Department. I have item 10 on the agenda. The Maintenance Department is requesting the board approve and execute the agreement for professional design services with R.E. Winter and Associates Incorporated to provide professional design and contract administration services related to upgrading the roof on the Geauga County Maintenance Safety Center in an amount not to exceed $98,683.
So what are you expecting the cost of the actual roof to be? If that's just for the,
Probably about 1.2 to 1.5 mil.
for a roof?
Big roof.
Yeah,
And it's outdated,
plastic.
it's 20 years old, so,
yeah, that's what I saw. It was on, it went on in 2004, is that right?
good. And it's had several maintenance updates, and it's still leaking. So,
Okay, so we're thinking it's gonna be completely replaced.
yes.
Is there like a 40-year guarantee?
I don't know about 40, but it's probably a good 20, 30, yeah.
Yeah, they did say 25.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
They
I
said
think
at
it's a
least
30-year
25.
warranty, but I'm not sure about 40.
Oh, yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spiller.
Aye.
Commissioner Brady. Commissioner Moore.
Yes.
Item number 11 is associated with the reimbursement grant from the State Mental Health Department to assist in the construction of the youth center building. Last week, I was wondering what we were on that grant, and went back and looked at some of the documentation, and one of the things I learned was that the resolution that was passed by the board last year to allow signers for that grant had Jerry's name in it. So I talked with the lady at the state and indicated that while I am the acting county administrator, that is temporary. So at her suggestion, we are asking to amend that to just take out a name and just put in the title. So whoever is occupying that position would be able to do the signing for the documents on that. I also sent all the documents I could find to Laura because I learned that this may be a grant that we're not going to be able to accept. And if it comes to that, I'll let you know. If there's a 20-year mortgage associated with it, and Laura has some questions about whether that's legal or not. The grant is intended to be forgiven automatically on a 1/240th per month basis to be monitored by the mental health board, not us. So it's kind of an awkward thing, and I'm just trying to figure out where we are on it. But for now, we need to redo that resolution to take out a name and just have the title in there. So that's what number 11 is about.
I just have 2 typos on the resolution.
And the resolution itself.
Yeah. So for the first now, therefore, I'm guessing applicants is an apostrophe S, applicants program.
It is, hold on. This,
Okay, you got it there.
we changed that one.
Okay, yeah, okay. And then just a comment here after commissioner. Thank you.
Yep. Well,
Very good, Jim.
Jim Bryce did it. So we got, I was gonna say we got,
Okay, good.
so we have a motion on that one.
I'll make a motion to approve, as just amended.
Second.
Commissioner Spiller.
Aye.
Commissioner Brady.
Aye.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Item number 12 is requesting the board to approve the author and authorize the president of the board to execute the current agricultural use valuation renewal application form DTE 109A for parcel number 13015313. And my understanding, I think you fill these out, right? This is for the parcel next to the county home that is
Correct.
currently being farmed.
Barney, yes.
So that's what this is for. And Christie has a drawing or a picture of it for you.
Make the motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spiller.
Aye.
Commissioner Brady.
Aye.
Commissioner Wood.
Yes.
Item number 13 is a further execution of the new credit card policy. Part of what is required by the law is that basically predictions of what you expect to spend on your county credit cards are supposed to be sent to the auditor's office. So the commissioner's office is requesting the board approve and execute the certification request to county auditor, request to board of commissioners, orderly use of county credit cards pursuant to ORC 301.27 for the year 2025, quarters 1, 2, 3, and 4. For the auditor and ADP, the clerk of courts, the commissioners, the sheriff, the Department on Aging, Community and Economic Development, Job and Family Services, Maintenance, and Water Resources.
Is there a motion?
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spillier. Commissioner Brinkley.
Aye.
Commissioner Coyle.
Yes.
And item 14 is where I sign it for you, so you don't have to, because there's a big stack. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the board designate the county administrator as the board's representative and further authorize the execution of the applications for Geauga County Credit Card Program employee acknowledgement forms for all agencies, offices, and departments utilizing credit cards for year 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Commissioner Spillier.
Aye.
Commissioner Brinkley.
Aye.
Commissioner Whitman.
Yes.
Are we done with the credit card stuff?
No.
There's a little more.
There's
There's
like
a little retreating in there.
20 different motions about the contract policy.
People are adjusting to a big change.
We'll make a question or just save it to the public comment on the credit card stuff.
I think that should be safe for public comment. Is that?
I have a question. I swear.
Go ahead and ask your question since we're on the credit card.
Yeah, and that's what I just didn't know. With respect to the unforeseeable stuff, you know, in the resolution, and I know we submitted all, because we just had a meeting about the credit card stuff. And so if we come to something that is unforeseeable, should that just be from a director, a discussion to you to see if it's the unforeseeable stuff, or? Because that's the one question that we have is, you know, obviously we have to submit stuff that is expected. But if we have something, child gets in custody and we have an emergency expense, how should we handle that and understand what the board would accept as kind of an unforeseeable or emergency expense?
Thoughts for it? Or shall I get back to him after we've had a chance to think about it?
Get back.
I will get back to you when they have a chance to think about that.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, so the next item on the agenda is the board reviewing and discussing the 2025 unfunded budget requests for supplemental appropriations for consideration on next Tuesday's session on February 11th, 2025 financials. So at the end of last year and during the tax budget and everything, we made several reductions to departments for the 2025 budget, many of which we expected to be able to revisit after the beginning of the year once we know how much money we have available to us for supplementals. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a discussion with each of you to see what your ideas were on all these, to make sure that when I do the financial and I bring it in here, that everyone is aware of the various aspects of the supplemental and what's being requested, what's being approved, and give you all an opportunity to discuss it. So I will just kind of go through this list and you have a pen up there by any chance? That's I know budget. Yeah, so thank you. We'll just go through this list, and if there are any objections to it or questions, I'd be happy to address those. So the first item, the first department we'll deal with is ADP. So there were, about 730,000, almost 731 of the budget adjustments, for ADP. The first one was, in ADP's payroll. We did trim, payroll above the 30% as well as removing maintenance positions. And that was, determined by a, Attorney General opinion 2023-005, which indicated that the commissioners have the hiring authority for maintenance positions in the maintenance department.
I mean, so that seems reasonable to me, that we would not grant them the money for an additional maintenance
And I,
position.
yeah, and I did have conversations too with the people in ADP as well as the auditor's office, and they agreed that if the other parts of their request were approved, they would withdraw the desire to hire a maintenance person.
Yeah,
Indicating too that maintenance had increased its staff and had begun addressing some of their issues with a little more vigor. So
yeah, and that was in this write-up too that we got from ADP. It seemed like they were backing off on that. And then can you talk more, Adrian, about the trimming the payroll above 3%?
So that did include the 3% trim above 3% did not include the acquisition of the archives. So I did allow for that.
Okay.
That was based on their amended budget, which was increased after they acquired archives.
And that allowed them to bring those positions up more to a market-based pay.
Correct. That's
Okay, so
probably, that's probably was a part of it as well. So,
Okay,
yeah.
okay,
And they also had some positions that they had listed in their personnel schedules as vacant that were not currently being advertised. And, if a department has a lot of those, we tend to want to trim those back. And then if they do decide then to hire them and are going to advertise, we can work out additional appropriations for those.
so that makes sense to me. So these IT staffing expansion that we see in their proposal, the cybersecurity specialists and so forth, are we seeing those are vacant positions, or are they being advertised? Do we know that?
I don't know that at this time. I don't know if anyone is.
They're being advertised right now.
Okay, all three of those positions, Frank?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you.
So I guess, Adrian, if you had to look at ADP over the course of the last 6 years, what would you say the percentage of growth we've had of payroll? Is it fair to say that it's doubled,
I would say that.
Triple.
Yeah, that's fair to say. At least double. Yeah.
at least double, probably more?
Yes.
And
Whether or not the argument could be made we were underspending by that amount prior to that, I don't know. But it has gone up. It has gone up a lot over the last, 5-6 years.
And that's including archives with the employee count.
Technically, that would be including them right now. I mean, it was in an upward trend even prior to the acquisition of archives.
Is that due to the number of positions or increases in salaries?
They have increased the number of positions, yes. I mean, their staff has probably doubled as well.
But I mean, I think that's also, and Frank, you can correct me, but part of that's because you're taking on more work, right? You're helping additional police departments in the county and so forth. Is that?
Yes, ma'am, that's
Okay.
correct.
Could you talk a little bit about how you've expanded your services in the past 5 to 6 years, Frank?
Yeah, we have not doubled the staffing in the last 5 to 6 years. I believe we went from somewhere around 11 to 14 or so now with a couple of open positions. Honestly, in terms of working with outside communities, we have added a number of them, but more than that, it's been the flow of the cybersecurity infrastructure and the issues we're dealing with. Wood County is a great example. Based on what happened in December with the ransomware payment, having to pay $1.5 million. We have made significant investment into the county security in terms of information technology. That's been the main drive in that. So we didn't have a security department as of 2 years ago. Now we have 3 people in there.
we're looking at getting to put more in?
I would like to add one more to that group.
When I know there was discussion, Frank, and maybe it's a discussion for another time, but, you know, with having an outside company, that this is kind of what they do. And to be able to manage us on a contract style basis rather than us, you know, having to worry about, you know, additional manpower, additional benefits, additional everything that goes along with hiring somebody. What's your feeling on this? Where does that sit anymore?
In terms of an outside vendor for cybersecurity,
Yeah,
what we've learned from a number of counties here, especially in the last couple of months, whether it be Wood County or Harrison County or Pike County or Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, is that an in-house cybersecurity staff that can quickly respond to incidents, diffuse them, and also monitor and manage the network seems to be the best practice for government when we have roughly $260 million that we're protecting. So it seems that an in-house staff is the most secure and confidential way to handle that. It's
So how
also
does that
fast.
cost compare? Do you know?
I'm not sure. I mean, if you're an outside vendor, their goal is to make a buck. So I don't know what their profit margins are. We've used outside vendors for other things. We've had various levels of luck with them in terms of cybersecurity. Much of it, and it's not an issue necessarily, but much of it comes from outside the United States. And the time frame and the issues with that can make it very difficult.
so total on this, as far as for ADP, that we would be looking at to add to the take out archives, because we had already budgeted the majority of archives in our original budget.
Yeah, and we just transferred those
Right.
appropriations.
So what are we looking to add on salaries again to ADP?
The positions, the maintenance position for ADP was probably about 15,000. So, you'd be looking at, you're looking at probably about 220,000 to, ADP's payroll. And that includes, salaries, Medicare and overs.
So is this just for the new positions or for additional raises?
This is for the new positions as well as whatever, additional promotions or whatever that they have planned.
You know, because I think that that's the biggest thing that you're hearing throughout, you know, many of the different departments, you know, in the county is that, you know, the auditor and the ADP department, they have the highest level of you know, employees over $100,000, I guess. You know, when you're looking at it, comparatively speaking, with so many other of our departments in our, you know, elected divisions within our county. And it's just, you know, where is the ceiling on this? Do we just continue to put more money? And we're constantly going back to, you know, well, this is, you know, what it's going to cost to get this person, and this is what it's going to cost to get this person. And, you know, I don't want to sit here and micromanage, but, you know, another, you know, what is the total budget of ADP? And now we're adding another $200,000 or $220,000 to that just for salaries. And that's not something that goes away. Next year, it's going to be that much plus more with the increases. So where does the end happen? You know, and if we've, you know, almost, you know, more than doubled the budget already, where does it go from here? I mean, it's a fair question, I think.
And I don't disagree with you. And I guess we have the opportunity to look at that and scrutinize it, when they submit their tax budgets here in the next,
Right.
3-4 months. So, and see where things are going.
Because what I'd like to try to do is I'd like to try to get a complete worksheet over the, let's say, the course of 6 months, to try to get a chart put together, like where these departments were, and, you know, and just so that I can kind of have some confirmation too of some raises of people being at, you know, $75,000 and all of a sudden they're at $105,000. You know, we're, you know, what it's doing is it's definitely contaminating a lot of the other employees in this county that are trying to work every day and are not seeing some of those increases. And, I think that we've done a fairly decent job of monitoring a lot of the different rates out there and wages out there to be able to, to do comparable salaries with what's out there. And, and I know, that this is something that's somewhat concerning. And the other part that's concerning too with this is that I believe that, on that, situation that happened with the direction of payroll, I believe that ADP has over $200,000. Am I correct on that or wrong?
What did you,
On that was, how much was it that ADP had utilized for the
ARPA money?
ARPA money?
ADP was only through because, ADP is currently in the general fund, so they were included in that to begin with.
Right.
It was the ADP Contract Services Fund, and that was only like maybe about $7,500.
Okay.
So
So it was, well, there was a number, I'd have
it
to look
was,
at my email, but it
the
was
real estate assessment fund
that pulled
like a little
almost
over
$200,000 was never returned.
And there were several opinions that the prosecutor gave us that indicated that several of those funds, in his opinion, could not legally return that money to the general fund.
But they could do a transfer within those funds to cover some of these expenses that they're looking at.
Potentially, I guess they could if they wanted to do like a supplemental or something
Right.
as opposed to seeking additional funds.
Right.
So that, with the exception of the refund, none of the funds that I listed on that report yesterday are up for any sort of consideration in these supplementals today.
So you have something to add, right?
I just want to be clear, the REAF fund is not under ADP. That's a separate
Yes,
fund
yes.
under GIS.
Right.
In terms of ADP, ARPA money was roughly $7,000.
Frank, how many employees do you have that are in six-figure salary range?
In ADP, that would be one, that would be myself.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
Okay.
So did you want to talk about the auditor then? Are we doing?
Well, I would like to know at least on the amounts for the payroll for ADP. Is there any apprehension in approving the return of that supplemental to them minus the maintenance conditions?
I mean, I think there's a couple of things. They don't have those positions currently employed. They're still seeking people.
Right, you're advertising for them.
So I think that, and, I'd like to try to work with you a little bit on some of these numbers too, to really kind of try to get a little bit of a, 50-yard line look to really kind of see the whole picture myself. I think that the, it's concerning the amount of growth that department has had over the years. And it just seems like year after year after year, it just continues to spiral into more and more. And it always scares me with salary positions and stuff because, the wages, because those are reoccurring. And reoccurring usually with increases.
So I'm assuming you would say no to that first one.
I mean, I would say yes. I mean, I understand that the budget's going up, but technology is also getting more complicated. And there are needs in the county now that didn't exist 5-6 years ago, just because of how technology has advanced. So, I mean, I guess we could talk about, adding increases when these positions are, if they find somebody, we could handle it that way, but I don't think any of these positions seem unreasonable to me.
I guess my only concern too is that, I've sat up here and listened to, always like where, when Commissioner Lennon had gone to the one meeting with the with ADP when he was reassigned to that a couple years ago. There was basically that we were going to make an adjustment, and then we were going to basically be looking to actually go in a different direction. That we were basically putting money into technology and money into that structure to reduce costs. And, you know, it's like we were told that, and that's what we were led to believe. But yet we continued to see it going the other way. And that's where I'm struggling with it a little bit because I heard it loud and clear. And that was what I supported it based on the fact that we were making an investment for reductions in the future. And, you know, I obviously you and I will sit down and kind of go over this a little bit more to see where those reductions actually are at, because I'm looking at this and I don't really see it.
It'd be nice to maybe have someone from ADP come in and
Yeah.
maybe they could quantify that a little bit better than I could just by looking at numbers.
Sure.
So, because sometimes, you know, you don't realize that you are realizing a reduction because something else came along the line that forced costs to go up and complicated the ability to safeguard the county's network and the computers and stuff that maybe wasn't around when they made that initial prediction. And, you know, cybersecurity and stuff like that has really developed into a whole different ballgame, making it much more difficult to guard against that and to protect, you know, the county's infrastructure that way. So
Is that what
Although
ADP is telling you?
no,
Or is that
I'm just
wrong
saying,
opinion?
that's my own opinion just by looking at the way things are going. And I'm saying I've experienced that in my own life as far as, you know, taking steps to try and save money, and yet you have other things that are happening around you that actually increase your costs. Even though you save something over here, you end up spending more in another area. So.
And it's very adds here.
If I may, I did provide the board with a 3-page overview this past Friday on what the funding sources were for, what we were looking to purchase with that. To Commissioner Spitaler's point, there has been reductions, especially in the on-premises server environment. However, in the hosted environment and on the cybersecurity side, that's where the increases have gone. So there have been reductions on the hardware that we actually possess within the county. But based on the changing landscape and the dynamics in cybersecurity, we put that money elsewhere.
So, Commissioner Brinke, would you be in favor of the ADP money going back in for the payroll?
Yes, minus the maintenance position.
Okay. And Commissioner Dvorak. And we do have a number of things here to get through, so I want to try and go as quickly as possible. I apologize. ADP's equipment was, actually, this is, yes, ADP's equipment in the general fund was reduced. I allowed 10,000 for emergency items. The reductions were related to additional ADP furniture and a replacement vehicle, which equaled about $80,000. So would you all be in agreement to provide them with that additional funding?
Frank, could you talk a little bit more about how you use the vehicle?
So we have 2 vehicles right now. One we inherited with the archives and records move, and the other one that's a historical vehicle that I believe was transferred from the auditor's office. So the archives and records vehicle is a 13-year-old Impala that's rusted out. It's not in good shape. We'd like to replace that for the courier runs and box runs and working on records with other agencies. The Jeep Liberty that we have that we use for the Department of Information Technology is also a 13-year-old vehicle. It's definitely dated. We use that type of a vehicle, whether it be an SUV or preferably a van, for technology rollouts, moving large quantities of technology around the county, especially in a lot of these onboarding situations where we had a dozen laptops or a dozen computers somewhere.
So you're looking at that 80,000 is to replace both of those vehicles? I thought it was just for one.
No, that would be 2 vehicles.
Okay, it's 2 vehicles. All right.
Other questions on that one?
I'm okay with that.
No, I think once again, so if we take out the maintenance position, what's the number that we're looking at?
220.
Yeah,
220, and in that reef account, it was over 200. Correct?
it was like 207, I think.
So,
Yeah.
so we almost are real close to what it was, what this increase is. So we're adding out of the general fund dollars an additional 200 to this, and they already have an additional 207,000 in their reef account, correct?
That's correct, yeah. And the REEF and the ADP general fund accounts obviously are
Right.
two.
I understand that, but I'm just saying that if that had the ability of being transferred to utilize it for these, it would cost the general fund very, very little to be able to do this. And I guess at the end of the day, I look at it as, is that, there's a credit owed there, correct? There's money that we never really agreed that was the way that was supposed to go. And fortunately for you, kind of seeing that and spotting that, it would have probably gone even worse. But there's $207,000 of dollars that's basically been put back into that reef account that should not have been. And we're going to add an additional $220,000 when that money is sitting there. I don't know.
We're adding the money, we're adding the money to ADP in that general fund though.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
those are.
I understand.
I do have some things about REEF here that we could talk about.
Right,
So.
correct. And that's what I'm saying.
Oh, so are we
Is that-
moving on to the auditor? I thought we were still on ADP. Because
Well, we're still on ADP,
Yeah,
so I
because we
just
haven't-
wanted the furniture and the replacement vehicle. Are we
Yeah, I
okay
mean,
with?
that's a no-brainer.
Okay. Okay, and then, one other one is, in ADP is the computer equipment improvement fund. I reduced their equipment request. I allowed again $25,000. These were various items related to stock and replacement technology. It totaled about $416,000 was that reduction. So I just want to know, are we okay with providing them with the funding to buy those stock and replacement technology items? This included servers, this included all kinds of technology.
This included the Zero Eyes, is that correct?
No, Zero Eyes was part of their contract services money, that there was no reduction that was done to that.
Okay.
Now, if they, I'm not sure exactly how their contracts work, if something for Zero Eyes comes out of.
Well, I know it was under a key
Yes.
funding request on
Okay.
this document. That's what it was.
Some of it is hardware related to Zero Eyes. Some of it is appliance items.
So let me ask you, Frank, I know that you had just said that, a lot of the reductions have been on equipment. So, here we go with $400,000 towards equipment. So where's that reduction at?
We have reduced the overall server imprint in Geauga County by about 30 or 40% in the last 4 years. We still support servers on premises though, a number of servers that we have to support, and we did not do much in the way of last year because we didn't know where the funding would be. So we have servers that do need to be upgraded in order to run everything that we run here. That's one key. The other key is hardware investment in terms of network infrastructure. So whether that be switches or APs or firewalls, all of that gets upgraded pretty routinely as well.
And that can't be outsourced, right? Frank? I mean,
That
that's
could not be
that's ours.
That would be like, outsourcing a police department in that sense, in terms of the internal network security. I mean, we don't do that.
Is this just hardware or does it include software?
That is all just hardware.
And is any of this hardware going to any of these other contracts that you guys have with all these other municipalities?
No, they typically I see what you're asking. They typically buy their own hardware directly. The only time we use stock items are for immediate replacements if something goes down.
And do we get reimbursed from them?
We do.
Yeah, that's part of the contract services fund, right? The
Correct.
in and out of that,
Yeah.
yeah. Are we okay with the equipment request for the computer equipment improvement fund?
I'm fine.
Commissioner Brackey?
Yes.
Commissioner.
Probably not.
Okay, on to the auditor now. So the auditor had, their contract services expense, that they had budgeted related to an office remodel that they wanted to do. This was in their, general fund contract services account. It was, roughly $120,000 that they, had budgeted, for that remodel, and it was trimmed more from the standpoint of having maintenance kind of be running that and taking care of it. And similar to the way ADP kind of manages the county's technology and network infrastructure, it's important for you all to have a control over the buildings because that's your responsibility. And we felt that that was something that we could take out right now and look to work with them doing the remodel later through with the cooperation and participation of the maintenance department. But if you wanted to provide them with that money, in kind of a similar way, I guess, to what we did for the prosecutor's office or what we do for the prosecutor's office, you could allow them to have that funding and coordinate that with maintenance in order to do their remodel.
I'm a bit agnostic on how that's handled. I mean, it seems like they're gonna get the project paid for one way or another, so I'll defer to you two gentlemen as far as if that should go through maintenance or have the auditor handle it directly.
Either way, I can make sure that the money is set aside for that, whether it's through the building improvements fund or through a supplemental to the auditor's contract services account. It's really either way. So
I'm okay with the building improvement fund.
building improvements, okay. I don't know, Pam, are you all adverse to having that done through building improvement as opposed to your contract services fund?
That's totally fine.
Is that okay? Okay, so Commissioner Brady, I'll take it then that you're,
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, it's gonna get paid for one way or another, so
Right.
however people wanna handle that, I don't have actually, I don't have a strong opinion this time on something.
Commissioner Spindler.
Just
I'm
make
assuming
that-
you're-
I know, give me 3 seconds, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's, just like this morning I voted no on that 36,000, so my position on that would probably be no.
Okay. And so, as with many of the other equipment requests, the auditor's equipment request was reduced. I did allow for $10,000. There were additional items related to computers, monitors, a copier, and a printer, totaling about $26,300.
So,
These are all replacement computers.
okay, and why, I mean, not to ask a dumb question, why would this come out of the auditor budget instead of the ADP budget?
A lot of these computer-related items come out of the department's budgets as opposed to ADP. I think most of the computers and different things, that's for ADP and not necessarily for the other departments. So,
Okay.
and that's the way that we've been doing it. I don't know if things are going to change with that or not, but there were computer, monitor, copier, and printer requested in the auditor's budget. So are we okay with providing the $26,300 for them for their computers?
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Commissioner Spindler?
And that's in the auditors,
Yes.
and are they gonna remove that, transfer that fund, those funds?
I have not been told that.
So I would say no right now.
Okay. And then also, there was a reduction in the salary request to remove the hiring of the maintenance worker outside the maintenance department. That was the 15,372. I've been told that they're okay removing that, so I'm assuming
Yeah,
we will not approve that increase. Richard Gora.
I'm okay.
Commissioner Spindler, are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. And then also, the refund. Now, this is an odd fund. This is one of the ones that did utilize our ARPA funds. We did, in the budget, reduce their salary request to remove the hiring of the maintenance worker outside of the maintenance department. That amount for that was 12,372. So, I'm assuming, you would not support now. I mean, they could supplement their budget to include this position. You would not have to, I guess, approve that financial. But this is a fund that the auditor's office has control over. So, but I'm assuming you would not be in support of them supplementing their payroll accounts to include that maintenance worker. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and then also, there was a reduction to their contract services for the renovation of their offices. That was an additional 75,000 that was removed. And again, I think the auditor's office is this part of the same project, Pam?
It's historically, there's been many conversations about the other house in the third floor. So we have 4 employees up there. They're trying to bring, and we have 5 locations, 4 employees up there. We're trying to bring those 4 down in house in our other 4 locations because they are doing work that partners with our current employees. So this was to turn our conference room into a small meeting area with a table for the employees and also to build office spaces for them. So they can have that wing that's yours. We love you guys to sell it, use it for another purpose. Yeah.
Isabella, can I ask a question here?
Yeah.
Sure.
To Commissioner Spitaler's point, the refund benefited by over $200,000 of ARPA money last year. And you have told us that we have an opinion from the prosecutor that that money cannot be returned to the general fund or wherever it should have gone to. But if the board chose not to refund these 2 items, would we not then get back essentially $87,000 of that 207? Because they benefited in a way that it wasn't intended and they can't get it back. But if you don't fund these things, they can utilize the 200,000 that they benefited by and still have the things they want to have. I mean, would it work that way? Could it work that way if they chose to?
Potentially, but do the commissioners not want to allow them to be able to do the renovation of their offices?
They have $200,000 that they could use for that in that fund, don't they?
Correct, yes. So I guess do we want them to be the ones doing it though, or is that something that we want them to run through the building improvements fund? We could ask them to do that. We would give them permission to use that additional money. That is true. I mean, because it is technically, it is the auditor's money. It's not, it's money that is set aside for real estate assessment. So, we could allow them to do that and pay for the renovation of their own office.
Okay, so the suggestion is for that 119 for the contract expenses and then the 75.
No, I think it was just the 75.
Oh,
Yeah, the refunds.
oh, well, I mean, the one refund is gonna go away because they're not gonna hire that separate maintenance worker.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. But at 75, I mean, that would be part of the, 220?
Well, no, it's not, the 119 is the 119 and the 75 were 2 separate projects, right, Dan? Yes.
The one
Yes,
that
so
you
they're 2
have
separate
is
projects.
the upstairs office.
Right. But I mean, I was just, if you wanted to get to about 220, which was taken from the ARPA fund, that would almost do it.
That's correct.
Doesn't cost us anything. Right on.
Yeah.
Frank, you have a comment?
Yeah, I'll just say, at least in my experience, and I haven't read the statute in a while, the REAF fund is a restricted fund. And that money is very limited in terms of what the auditor is permitted to do with it. I don't know what that includes.
So we might not be able to
I don't know.
do that. Like,
That was the budget request for the 75,000, so
In the refund.
in the refund, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I assume they could use contract services to also to cover this renovation for that other space, right?
I don't know. The one
Well, I understand that these are separately done, but I would think they could use that fund for different spaces.
As long as it's related to the reef
Oh, I see.
offices. So it might be different offices,
Okay.
so.
I see.
Clarification. The 119, Pam, that's not for the basement, that's for the fiscal office?
The,
That's,
I forgot my papers. The second, that was the general fund for the fiscal office was the 119.
that's for the fiscal office, not the basement.
I didn't even know you were looking at doing that one too.
Yeah,
Jeez. Okay.
yeah, that's the one where we have 11 people that came there and we have one bathroom. In the bathroom, yes, we got clear over the maintenance. department. And then the other ones, we got-
75 or something. Okay.
Yeah, there's three different areas that are, there's the 36,000 that he denied was for the basement area. The 119 is for the fiscal office and the 75 is for the opera house. That's what my understanding is what I'm gathering here.
Just
But definitely if we wanted them to use refunds to do the 75,000, that is their money. It's, when they do the supplementals, when they do the financials for that, we're just agreeing that we'll allow them to do that. And if we want them to, check in with us on what they're doing and how it's gonna be done and, show us, renderings of what it's gonna look like and stuff, so you guys can all, agree with it, then we could do that. And then, they'll just work through that money instead of us having to do it through the building improvements fund or the general fund for that matter.
So in essence, that would be sort of recapturing at least a portion of that.
Correct, yeah. And you all be okay with that then? Okay. Carolyn?
Yes.
Commissioner, put away. And then, there was also a reduction in the salary request to remove that hiring of a maintenance worker in the GIS. So I'm assuming we're not doing that yet. And then, on to Board of Elections, their equipment request was reduced. It included, appropriations for a rolling ladder, a mail opener extractor, and also a minivan in the amount of about $89,100.
The rolling ladder, is that for this basement storage space?
I believe so.
I mean, they definitely need a rolling ladder there. That's, I don't know if you guys have seen that space, but it goes up high and that seems reasonable. I mean, I remember your budget hearing though about the minivan, and it seems like they really just need that vehicle during election and they don't really need it throughout the year.
Correct.
Yeah, so I'm inclined to not give them the money for that and just let them do a rental during election season.
I think that the maintenance department said that they could help you with when you needed to move. It's mostly for mail, getting mail to the post office
Oh, I see.
during
thought-
election.
During election season
Yes.
now. Okay, but I
We had
mean,
also looked at the potential of looking at a rental during that time.
yeah, that's what I was saying.
So rental's gonna be a whole lot cheaper and no maintenance, nothing. And for that period of time, rent it, take it back.
Yeah, and one of our vehicles is a minivan in my house. Let me tell you, those things are expensive and they're like not a sexy car. So, I mean, I've seen I could get a really sweet car instead of that minivan.
Yes, but you do have children, so.
It's really great for drop off.
Glenn, do you have a comment?
Glenn's helped us tremendously during the election cycle, making sure that we had a vehicle, and you're right, just to have it sitting around. And the only time that we have to pick up the mail is during the election cycle, otherwise the mail's being delivered. And so Glenn's been a tremendous help for letting us use the vehicle. The only thing we thought of with the minivan is that sometimes especially on election day, if a machine goes down, you're not gonna get that DS-200 that looks like a big garbage can with a computer on top. You're not gonna get that in somebody's car. But we've used what GFS's little truck. So I know that, you know, something could be worked out. That doesn't happen very often. But that's really, I mean, yes, we're gonna have an election in May, so we're gonna need a vehicle then. And right now, we're gonna have an election in November. I don't know if there'll be a special in August. So, I mean, 3 times a year would be the max that, you know, we need it for like 30 to 60-day time period.
We have a pool car that people use to go down to Columbus or wherever, and that's what we usually do.
Okay,
And it's a SUV, so.
Okay.
And when they do need something, we do have a little like unsexy van, so, that we let them use that.
I mean, so that makes sense to me, not, so I would get out of the budget that minivan, but I mean, the other things, the rolling ladder, I think that's essential.
No, we need the ladder.
Yeah, I mean, I saw that space, you need somebody to get out up there.
So I think the minivan was about $40,000 worth of that,
Okay,
89-100. So would we be okay with the mail opener and extractor then? And the ladder?
Yes.
Okay. For me. Commissioner Brady?
yeah, I mean, so what, Joni, can you talk about the mail opener extractor? I mean, I assume that's for election time, right, opening it?
No, it would be used every day.
Okay,
Basically it cuts down on manpower. I mean, the machine is unbelievable. It pulls everything out of the envelope, so there's no human error. I mean, we have people that put their utility bills accidentally in the envelope. And so, that machine just, I can't think of a proper word, but basically sucks everything out of that envelope that, whether it should be there or not.
yeah,
And so, right now we have 2 to 3 people that are, you know, processing the mail, and that machine, it just zips it right through and it separates everything. Separates the envelope, separates the document that we need, the absentee ballot application, and then all these mom and dad's recipes and kids' photos and whatever. It puts that all, and
well,
it's
sounds like
amazing.
we can reduce the salary by 2 people then.
Right, so
That's what I heard, I don't know.
yeah, so that's the point of the machine, is that there's no human error. Let's
Okay. So
not
I
to say
assume
we have human error.
that would be the majority of that 40-ish thousand. If it's a ladder and a mail extractor.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, is it only those 3 things or is it just
No, it's just those 3 things.
a mail extractor? Is it?
Yeah, I don't remember what the exact breakdown on the other 2 remaining items were, but the minivan, I'm almost certain was only about 40,000 of that total. So,
I think the mail extractor's about 25,000, I believe, of that mail machine.
That was a used minivan, I don't tell you.
yeah, they are pretty expensive.
Not cheap.
Okay, so,
But that's good. Yeah, that's all fine.
and Commissioner Spindler. I'm gonna pass by the commissioner ones right now because, at least half of those are dependent on other ones that are below here. So I'm gonna skip down to the common police court, and this is their court technology fund. We did reduce their equipment request. Again, I allowed for $10,000, and this again was items related to computers, monitors, displays, and a kiosk in the total amount of about $50,520.
What's the kiosk for?
I believe it is, like an information center
Yeah.
for, the public. I don't know, beyond that, I don't know exactly. And there's nobody, unfortunately, I don't think on the courts here today, but I can get you details on it if you want.
I mean, that's all right. I know, like with the health department, we bought one of these and it really.
Oh, it did?
So,
Okay.
no, so that's, I just have a little bit of a bias against those. I mean, usually people just talk to whoever's there.
Yeah.
more information. They're not pushing the buttons unless you're taking a number, like if you're the B and C or something.
Right. And I don't know if it is a multi-function kind of thing like that,
Yeah,
where you can go into a queue with it or not.
right. I don't know either. But that, I mean, that all seems reasonable. Is this for like the new courthouse technology? So this would.
No, this is probably just existing stuff that they have right now.
Just replacing that.
Correct.
I was hoping we could shave off that renovation budget somehow.
Are we okay then with the court technology request to be reinstated? Okay, now this is one that, I will do a cash transfer for. So that 5,520 relates to the first item in the commissioners for the transfers out to court technology fund if the request is granted. So, you're okay with that, Commissioner Ricky?
Yeah.
And Commissioner Spitaleri?
I would imagine so, yeah.
Okay. And then down to maintenance. So maintenance, we reduced their equipment request. We allowed $10,000. Now they requested items related to some transit vans, tractors, and some equipment for the tractors, mowers, and floor scrubbers. That total was about $180,000. That was reduced.
I was gonna say, you just.
So are we okay with reinstating that equipment budget for maintenance?
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Ricky?
I guess. Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Spitaleri?
Yep.
Okay. The next item is, and so if you remember, the Budget Commission reduced the, one of the levies for JFS, the children's levy, by $1 million. So late in the game, I had to get $1 million in order to put into a levy reimbursement expense account. So there were a number of accounts that I went through and I worked with maintenance in order to reduce those, in order to provide enough appropriations for the $1 million for the levy reimbursement. So you're going to be seeing a few of those here now. So we reduced the grounds services in order to balance out the fund by $100,000. Are you okay with me reinstating that amount?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Commissioner Ricky?
Yeah.
Commissioner Spitaleri?
Yeah.
And the next one was building maintenance services. That was another $100,000. You all okay with that one?
Yeah.
Okay. And then software services was reduced $50,000. We okay with that? And I imagine they're gonna need that for the Microsoft 365, so
Yeah.
because that cost increase. Also, electric service was reduced to $175,000. Are we okay with reinstating that?
What's electric services?
This would be for like the electric bills.
Oh, our utilities? Well, yeah,
Yes.
we gotta pay those.
Yeah. Well,
Keep the
so,
lights on.
yeah, so there was a bit of an increase, so I took out, part of the increase in order to make room for that $1 million with the expectation that we should have enough to put it back up, but,
Okay.
okay.
That was a
No.
risky move though, Adrian.
No, I know it is. Well, I was banking on, being able to be within the amount that had already increased, so. And similar to, somewhat similar to ADP, we did, reduce the salary request for maintenance, for some unadvertised vacant positions and summer help positions. That amounted to about $204,000.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent that they're not being advertised, I wouldn't include that in the budget
Okay,
personally.
okay. Are you okay with that too? And Commissioners Spitaleri?
Yeah.
But the
So,
summer help is fine. I mean, that's fine, but you know.
okay, I can reinstate, are we good with summer help then?
Sure.
Providing them, okay. And then I guess, if they go to, and I don't know, to Glenn.
They're all going now.
They're all going, okay. I will reach out to Glenn and let him know if he advertises some of those positions or what have you, just to let us know and we can revisit that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And then, so the planning commission, We did eliminate, some equipment requests, for additional planning table and some travel and dues expenses that had gone up. That was a total of about $3,800. So are we okay with reinstating that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna quote about that.
Okay. And then, the public defender came to us during their, budget hearing and indicated that they wanted to take one of their part-time employees full-time. And, so we did some adjustments to their 2024, budget and also the 2025 budget. Since we were through the process though, we left it the same and we're gonna, supplement it after the beginning of the year. So, those were approved at the time by the commissioners, so I just want to make sure that we're all still good with providing them with those funds to do that. Okay. Commissioners?
Yeah, plus with the reimbursements, it's a no-brainer.
Correct, yeah. Okay, and then, the sheriff, there was a reduction to equipment requests. We allowed $150,000. The, remaining items were related to things like blankets, computers, servers, monitors, and cameras for a total of about $114,000. Are we okay with reinstating those items?
What's an MS 365?
That is Microsoft 365.
Oh, of course.
And
I was
this
thinking of
was,
some kind of gun.
no. And this was, that's actually a very,
Yeah, well, that's what I was asking. I was like, what is that?
that's actually a very recent request because when the information went out about the upgraded licenses, Tracy Gorski had, messaged me and asked if we would include that as well. So we're okay with the equipment then?
So I guess, how much did we have again with, ADP with that 415,000? Do any of those servers, Frank, go to the sheriff's office or any of that IT going over there? On that money that we would have just taken, on that top line item?
So the answer is no, but to Commissioner Brady's point earlier, a number of offices, sovereign appointing authorities have their own IT budgets, and that's just for their own in-house stuff. We've always operated that way. We've never operated with a totally centralized information technology budget under ADP. It's just never been that way. In terms of the ADP infrastructure, it is to create the rest of the infrastructure that all the individual offices tie to. So the sheriff has some separate servers that only run sheriff's related items out of the safety center and some networking that is only there. But then the rest of that ties into the rest of the county network. So I don't know what servers those are specifically.
So do you think that there could be that some of these that he's looking to replace would fall under your umbrella?
No, those are probably at the safety center. They have a separate IT room over there that's completely secured, and ADP can't even access that without sheriff's employees taking us there.
Is that a pretty typical budget for the vehicle replacements?
Yes,
Like, that's like a yearly budget?
yes.
Wow.
Now that's not just the vehicles, but that's the outfit,
Okay.
which,
Almost doubles the price.
yeah. Or at least
It's a lot.
adds 50%, yeah.
Okay.
So to these SUVs. And then, a lot of these cars are SUVs now. They're not the old
Right.
patrol cars.
Right.
So they're a little bit more expensive anyways and require a little bit more outfitment because they're larger interiors. And
So
stuff.
let me ask you, because I know at the end of the year, there were vehicles that were available, and I believe we said to grab them, correct? In addition to what the original request was.
Yeah, we supplemented them last year in order to acquire some additional vehicles.
Right. So I mean, are we doing an offset on these, on this?
No, this is still their
Because if we.
planned request.
Okay,
This hasn't changed.
right, but the additional, because I believe that we made a special appropriation for that, correct?
We provided them with a supplemental, yes.
Right.
Yes, last year.
Right, so, and I know that this was last year's budget, but I'm just saying is that, are we still in a situation where, we know that the situation with the cars was get them while you can, because we don't know how that whole scenario works out, so.
Yeah, because it takes them a while to get it. So I think that's why he still wanted to do the the request for the additional, the 6 replacement vehicles so that he could get them ordered. And if they come in, he gets them. But if he has to wait, he's okay still.
Okay, so it's not, because and maybe I misunderstood, but I thought that because, they were available, we grabbed them, that we would be able to hold off a little bit on this, but.
Well, I think that's why we were able to take them out of the budget and then give it back later on. It wasn't that he was gonna need them right away. Because that's usually what I tell them is, I have to take those out. We can put them back in most likely after the beginning of the year, once we know what the carryover is.
Okay.
You let me know if you need them earlier
Okay,
and we can do it right away. Otherwise, we have to wait until February.
okay,
So that's I think why he was okay with waiting, because he had sufficient vehicles to meet his needs right now.
okay.
So are we okay then with the vehicles as well?
I mean, as long as you're comfortable that that's the answer,
Yes.
because I just, for some reason, I thought that was kind of gonna be we were just gonna try to jump ahead with the availability, but maybe you could have that
I can-
discussion later, but
I can call Tracy or
yeah, just to double check on that,
Sure,
because
yeah.
I just, my memory isn't very clear on that one there, so.
I mean, I have talked with Tracy about these vehicles already this year.
Okay,
So it didn't seem like it was a surprise to her that we were considering it.
okay,
So,
okay.
okay, and then, so we already talked about the 42,100 briefly, so are we okay with that additional funding for the licenses? Okay. And then, so these are the other 2 items from up above in the commissioners. It involves the 911 and the 800 communications. Both of those funds had their equipment requests reduced. I allowed for $10,000 in each of those. For 911, it was items related to computers, servers, monitors, and a recorder, which was about $44,000. Are we okay with reinstating those funds?
Yes.
I'm good. And then in the 800 megahertz communications fund, those were items related to lighting systems and their communications truck upgrades in the amount of about $31,000.
What do you mean by lighting systems?
Actually, I might have misspelled that. It might have been lightning. Maybe if they're like mitigation for lightning at the
Gotcha.
locations. Yeah. So. Seems weird that I would have spelled that though. I can find out on that.
Yeah, I was.
I'm assuming, near the towers and stuff, maybe there is, improved lighting that they want to put in some of the locations. So.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. Yeah, it didn't logically flow to me why there'd be a lighting request.
Yeah.
Really.
That's the only thing I can think of because it was in the equipment line item, so. I can double check that.
Okay. Thank you.
So are we all okay with reinstating those funds?
Yeah.
So that fills in the first 3 items in the commissioners, the additional funding for port technology, the additional funding for 911, and the additional funding for 800 megahertz. And then again, there were a few accounts that we reduced when I was going through making room for the $1 million. They are in our miscellaneous accounts funds. We reduced contract services in order to balance out the fund. That was about $20,000. I also reduced the other expense account about $20,000, and then also the postage account about $50,000. Would we be okay with reinstating all 3 of those?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That is it for me.
So with that being said, where does it, with these additional, where does it leave us then?
I will get some answers to some of the questions that we had. I will prepare the financials to go on next week's session. And I can update you over the next week on the answers to the questions.
Any kind of an idea, guesstimate, what kind of surplus in there we would have?
Well, we still have about an $8.7 million unappropriated balance in the general fund. So most of these requests are probably gonna be about 2.5 million, I would imagine, when all is said and done. So we still have a good portion of an unappropriated balance in the general fund right now, which, given, some of the other, building needs and different things that we have coming up, we should be able to utilize without any issues.
Okay.
So. Okay.
Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
You can, Adrian, just stick around just in case there's some other questions that come up maybe.
Okay, sure.
I'd like to change the agenda a little bit, since the dog warden here, he's been very, very busy the last couple of weeks. But there's a public announcement that the dog shelter is temporarily closed due to canine distemper case. Strongly urge all pet owners to be vigilant in keeping their dogs contained and preventing them from running loose, as our ability to take additional animals is currently limited. Thank you for your understanding. It's signed by Matt. Is there any updates with this?
Thank you very much, all the way. So yeah, we had a dog come in about 2 weeks ago. We had a dog come in 2 weeks ago that appeared healthy. It was a stray dog that I picked up. And it was showing symptoms of some type of sickness, illness. VCA Burton Vet Hospital has tested everything and it came back Friday, I believe, as positive for distemper. Distemper is a fatal disease in dogs. Usually only 1 of 2 dogs survive it. I unfortunately had to put that dog down yesterday, just based on the severity of what can happen with these dogs and the sickness. We have 4 dogs in our kennel right now that have all been around that dog. So we are having those dogs right now being quarantined in our kennels. They don't appear to have any disease or sickness. 3 of them were going to be adopted. So at this point, we're going to keep them in our kennels. So we're bleaching everything down. We're doing everything the veterinarians are requiring us to do. The dog was in our kennel long enough that we don't believe, and I just talked to the health department, we don't believe that any dogs are in danger of it. It was a hound type dog, so it probably ended up getting infected by a raccoon or something that has the disease or carries the virus. So at that point, that's where we're at. And we're keeping the shelter from bringing in new dogs. I'm working with Glenn right now of location that we can house them at, also calling Geauga, Portage, Lake, and all those shelters are willing to help out too and assist. So it's the first time that I can remember us shutting down for this long a period of time. I know it's the longest we've shut down, but it is a fatal disease, so we don't want to get sick.
And then you're communicating with the surrounding dog owners in case we have some other dogs to bring in.
Yeah, we're closed down for any new dogs coming into our facility. Owners that are calling us or anyone that's calling us, as we're telling them, it's a 2-week period. The way the veterinarians say it's an airborne virus, and when it hits a surface such as my jacket, it usually will die within about 3 hours. The problem is it's airborne. So at this point, going through our building and all that, we don't want any dogs in there to risk the chances. Distemper is a lot like parvo. It's the most fatal virus that you have with dogs. And you just don't want to take that chance with any new dogs coming in. So the only dogs we will take is the stray dogs, because we have to do that by law. And those new dogs we'll take, and we'll also still do all our investigations criminally of dog bites, running at large. So we're going to continue our operation except for the shelter.
And you're looking into a place right now where to bring those stray dogs as they come in.
Yes, actually, Glenn we just found a location, at least for now, in the barn. It's a heated area. And I only need a little space. It's a heated area there that we'll be able to set up cages there temporarily. And that's talking to The dog warden in Geauga, after a 48-hour period, we can probably transport it over there. We're hoping within the next 2 weeks that citizens just try to keep their dogs contained so they don't get out running.
Do that always too.
We hope, but that's why I'm here. It's just unfortunately owners just don't want to take that responsibility that often. And the biggest thing, as I said, is in the thing that vaccination is the only thing that stops this virus. So, if your dog hasn't vaccinated and you let it out, at least you know that there's a raccoon in Geauga County that probably had this temper, and you should have your animal vaccinated for this virus just so it does not get it.
Thanks for the report.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Item 16.
There's just a couple things for discussion this week. We had received a couple weeks ago a request from the Board of Elections to use Building 8 at 470 as a polling place. They have been trying to find a different polling place in Chardon and have had difficulty with that. And I know the last time that they asked that, they had to wait quite a long time for an answer. So I was just asking how you guys feel about that. They're asking for both May and November. And though we know that the new courthouse is supposed to be open by September, it's not going to alleviate the need at the senior center to still be there until we find a new location for that. Of course, Building 8 is a part of the senior center. And in the past, there's been cooperation in that. So I just need to know if it's okay with you. We can, Joey's here. You can just
And Building 8 would only be used for voting
on those days.
on those days.
Is that how it works, Joan?
Well, usually Monday night, they have to take the equipment to Building 8. Then we have all day of voting, and then they go first thing Wednesday morning. So the senior center's only basically inconvenienced Tuesday, or they would have had an event scheduled on Monday evening,
So 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, that's it. But we have looked, I'm telling you, we looked at the VFW, they won't close down their bar, for 3 days. In the church, there's problems with access with the Methodist church. We've been at the middle school in Chardon, but now that they have an administration building there, adjoining, the middle school, there's no parking between the middle school and the administration building. We're possibly looking at the golf course on, next to, Chardon Lakes Inn. But in May, they're golfing. In November, this past November, everybody was golfing just about till December. So we're not on their, yes, we'd love you to come here list. But I mean, the reality is we used to go to the Park Auditorium, but now that we're at the Heritage House, there's no way you're gonna be able to park all kinds of people up on the square. And so, I mean, we're really scrambling to find this, 2 precincts. So we don't know what we're doing.
So I'm okay with this, but I really want the Board of Elections to move in the first part of June into this building.
Well, yes, we're aware of that, and that's our goal. So we're aware of that. And the May special was not anything that we anticipated. State needed to put their infrastructure for roads and bridges on. And so now other communities and the commissioners have been able to put levies on the ballot. And that was not what we were thinking was going to happen this year.
So then what's the long-term plan of where that polling location would be in the courthouse once it's done, or?
Well, there would be room,
Okay.
that would be nice, but I mean, it's just really hard. The Methodist Church does not meet ADA standards. You can't get up that hill. And like I say, the schools, I know they're talking about putting on a bond issue in the Chardon schools. And so, they're moving the bus garage over behind the post office. So does that mean that there's gonna be some availability with the high school. We don't know how they're gonna restructure things, so we're putting feelers out there, but if anybody knows of anything, we'd appreciate it.
I don't know if you need a motion for that or not, but, they just need to know, is it okay? Can they use it in May and November or not? Okay?
You got 3 yes.
Thank you.
All the other items have to do with the airport. We had 2 things that were kind of up in the air about that. And we ended up asking for our opinion from our outside counsel. Because we just were having trouble getting the things to the finish line. According to the outside, well, the first one is the lease between UH and the airport for the housing of the medevac and an ambulance. And while that was submitted to the prosecutor and opinions were offered about things that should be in it, according to the opinion of the outside counsel, our 2018 agreement, which is basically the lease where the airport leases from us, does not require the commissioners to approve or give prior written consent to the agreement between the airport authority and university hospitals. Essentially, we're not part of that contract. We don't have to have anything to say about it. We did finally get a certificate of insurance yesterday and ran it past their attorney, and she indicated she was satisfied with it. So based on the outside opinion, I feel like we take no action at all about that lease. It's not ours. And that's just done. Is that?
I agree.
Agree.
The other thing that we got advice about had to do with the money, $1.33 million that the board voted on December 17th. That motion said, the airport authority is requesting the board approve an encumbrance and expenditure for January 2025 in the amount of $1,330,000 for the construction of a new T-hangar facility and upgrades to existing facilities at the airport pending the execution of the agreement for capital improvement funding. We were never able to get that agreement to the finish line, and January is over. So I guess you guys need to decide what do you want to do next about that. As far as I could understand from what I read and what we got from the attorney, there doesn't have to be an agreement. You remember when you did your $20,000 for them last year? The ORC that was cited and stuff pretty much indicated you could give them money if you wanted to. And the original agreement that by which the airport authority was created in 1992 says the board of commissioners in its own discretion can give money to the airport. And it doesn't have to be by agreement. It can be by resolution, which is how you gave the 20,000 last year. So that would be something you could do now. Just pass a resolution saying that's what you want to do. So since the elements of the motion that was passed in December have passed, I guess I've put before you, how do you want to proceed? Because they're anxious.
Well, I mean, $20,000 is different than $1.3 million. And even if we legally can just hand this money over without a contract, I personally don't think that that's a responsible decision for the taxpayers.
Well, my comments are just about every year we have some improvements on the airport, and we're proud of the airport. I think, and congratulations, Rick, on getting the FFA grant for $3.1 million, which we passed a couple weeks ago. Our share is $176,000, and the upgrade of the hangar for UH helicopter was well needed. I think we come up with $390,000 or something like that. But I did get a well, in the last 6 weeks or so, I've been more in tune with getting on more committees and things like that. One of the things I'm on the construction committee for the new Geauga Youth Center. That could be around $6 million. And we've been talking about the Chardon Area Senior Center for over 6 years and the Geauga Youth Center for over 6 years. And so that's, the expenses for that. At this time, before the meeting, I got a phone call from one of your board members, And he said that he's willing to, renegotiate the contract, so, and meet next week or whatever, because what prosecutor had a contract, and I think Friday McTheney had a contract. And Chip Hess says that if we get compromised somehow, we could come up with something. So, I think that, we go back to the drawing board and come up with some kind of, we give so much, loan so much, or whatever. So that's what I'm comfortable with.
So did we not appropriate that money then at the end of the year that we actually, because my understanding is that we committed those dollars.
There were financials that did happen in preparation for it, but the mechanism under which we would transfer that money was never finalized. So there was never like an agreement or a contract or something like that and what my understanding was is that we were working on what the stipulations were for the money to make sure that we just didn't give the money and then not have or have certain expectations for that money being met. So that's what we were waiting for, and I think that's what was happening. The money was never transferred though. It was never sent to the airport.
Yeah, because I think that, the discussion was pretty clear, and you could go back and look at the minutes too, that, was pretty specific that 1.3 million was going to be transferred over to the airport and that there was not a repay. It was going to be that they were going to be able to utilize that for that next hangar project. And then what would happen is that there would be an FAA return after they would have that. If I want to see, it was like approximately 560 some thousand. That all three commissioners had agreed at the time to basically have the airport authority retain those funds for a lot of the other projects that they have, so that they could just basically could make them whole, get them on the road of recovery, and also put them in a position of earn on what they've got built, And I got a call yesterday, last evening, that he had gotten a call from Commissioner Dvorak that he no longer now supports the money to be done. And I can tell you that just, the first week or second week, I basically had asked Commissioner Dvorak again, that wasn't what we agreed on, correct? And says, well, what we agreed on? Yeah, that's what we agreed on, was what I just explained. And I just think that, I think that there is a potential that, I don't know what the legalities are of the airport, and I think it's something, Rick, to basically go back and talk to your legal counsel, because I'm going to support 100% that money should be transferred to you guys. I mean, we said it, we voted on it, and I think that we should be giving them that money, because.
What was the language though that was moved? I thought it said it was dependent on an agreement. Did I misremember?
The airport authority is requesting the board approve an encumbrance and an expenditure for January 2025 in the amount of $1,330,000 for the construction of a new T-hangar facility and upgrades to existing facilities at the airports, pending the execution of the agreement for capital improvement funding.
Okay.
That's the language that was in the motion.
Right, and I think what happened with that is that we had a situation where that the language was basically not accepted possibly by our prosecutor, or what was the situation there?
An agreement that outlined what was discussed in session was presented to the prosecutor's office, and when it came back, there were a whole lot of changes harking back to the loan that you already have with the airport for the first T-hangar and other things like that. And so it all kind of came to a halt at that point. And that's when we started looking into the law and the creation of all these stuff, and sent it to our outside counsel for her opinion on whether or not we had to do that. But since you said it was going to be by an agreement for capital improvement funding, there probably has to be an agreement for capital improvement funding. And so that would be something where the prosecutor would have something to say about what is in that agreement.
I mean, the reason why I want to keep talking about negotiating the best, from the airport and from us is that the airport property is under the commissioner's name. All the buildings are under the commissioner's name. So, and just about every year, we've made improvements to the airport. It's just like the phone call I got this morning before the meeting, willing to renegotiate, combine the two agreements, contracts, and we'll go from there. And you have till, I think we got an email from Rick this morning or last night that they have till the last week of April to get the paperwork in for this grants. So.
Right, and I think that
this is February 4th.
The youth center, there's dollars that Craig has had in place for that for years to move forward on that expenditure. There's the whole youth center situation. I mean, that's been, something that we have been planning on. Department on Aging has had, has dollars in place for that project. After, we got done with this conversation, we're $6 million still plus ahead on surplus right now for what we have. So when we were looking at these decisions last year, we weren't just, trying to play Santa Claus, handing money out. We were looking at a responsible decision of basically making improvements to move our airport forward, because I can tell you that, that airport supplements a lot more economic growth and development than people realize. There are planes that are coming in there continuously for business trips with a lot of the factories that are within that area. Rick could give you actually more information than I can on that, but I can tell you that I know that, I have been, involved in seeing it personally firsthand myself, where commercial traffic comes in and out of that airport with a lot of the factories and manufacturing in that area. And I think that, the plan is much stronger and much greater, that those dollars could have been utilized also potentially for some of the conversations that have been had to lengthening the runway, to be able to have the next level of jets to come in. And it's a situation where, there's a lot of other issues within that airport that have some serious concern of repairs that would make it, feasible then for them to do this. And, we have an incredible board of great business-minded people, and it's a great mix. And there's a lot of good things that have come out of that. And, I say it, but that's one of the only, divisions within our county that's actually making money, and they're paying for their own stuff. Meantime, look what we just went through of how much dollars is going out the window and never coming back. Anything that we make of an investment there is an investment to our business community. And it's an investment to our, also to the future of that airport, of being able to collect the rents and be able to be 100% self-sufficient and held on their own. And all those board members are volunteers. There's very, very little cost that is going out to the actual operation of that airport. And everything that we have done is to be able to continue to the infrastructure of making that an airport that is much more sought after by companies, and making decisions to come even into that area, because a lot of people do not want to work with the delays in commercial air traffic anymore, of going to the airport and having their staff wait 3 to 5 hours with all the delays and all the shortages that are there. They're flying private aircraft more and more and more. And we have a lot of key companies, and we have a lot of companies that continue to look in that area. And I think that it's a small investment for a big goal. And I think we could put our blinders on and not see this. But the reality is that's a huge economic tool, and you just, you look at the locations that have sufficient airspace to come in and land, and usually in that area, they have strong industry and they have strong business. because of it. And I think that we're really missing the boat here, and I'm just really, somewhat disturbed the fact that, one of the commissioners that supported this program wholeheartedly, was able to just, change his, positioning like this and go in a different direction, because I know that there's a lot of people that are very much, dissatisfied, hurt, and just feel that, they were wrong. Then I hope that, the legal counsel on the airport side of things looks into this to see if there's any action that they could take against the commissioners to retain that money, because I support it 100% to still go in that direction.
Well, I'd like to take up that phone call this morning and renegotiate a little better contract combined what the prosecutor has in his language and combine what theirs have in language, and still get the 1.3, but just a little different. That's all. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to table the airport hangar project.
What do you mean by that? The funding?
The funding, yes.
And until negotiation, until an agreement has been reached?
Yeah, just like we all agreed that there would be a contract, and
I don't even know if that's, I mean, not to leave you hanging, but I don't even know if that's necessary based on what I'm hearing, what the original motion was, which that funding was contingent on a contract being approved.
and the contract hasn't been approved yet. I want to go back to the drawing board. Like I said, I got a phone call this morning, said that they're willing to talk about this and create a compromise contract. And sometimes the compromise between two parties, no matter what issue we're talking about, if both parties are a little upset, you still have a contract.
Yeah, I mean, it's not about undoing a decision necessarily. It's just about trying to make it right.
Yes.
So I asked you how you want to proceed. What do you want, what do you want to have happen next? Now,
And my position is going to be is if the information that you got from outside counsel is that money could just basically have been transferred over to them, then that's what I would have supported from the beginning.
that is not what the original motion says.
I understand
You have to,
that.
like, maybe rescind that motion.
No.
I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty clear that that's probably not going to fly. So, I guess I'm going to stand with the fact that we made a motion back in December to give the airport that money. And there was a lot of planning and there was a lot of time that took place. And there was also a lot of money that took place of them getting, a lot of the drawings and a lot of, you could probably speak on that more, Rick, but there's a lot of time and a lot of money that went into this, that this wasn't just something that we just balled up a figure of 1.3 million and threw it out there and played Santa Claus. This was a lot of time and effort that went into this, and a lot of presentation. We had the almost, entire board from the airport to come in here to give, so that there was no questions and all 100% clarity and transparency of what was being done.
But Commissioner Spitarelli, if we're not playing Santa Claus, then we should have a contract in place that protects our taxpayers.
I think that then what we should look to do is eliminate that board. Because if we can't trust the board that's down there to manage the dollars, then what is the purpose of having that board?
Why was there a motion to get the money?
Because we ultimately hold the money, and that's what we were told at the time, was that we were going to need a contract. If we would have known this other part of it, and 100% transparency is that, we were in a situation to get a legal opinion. We were in a point, we're making motions to get to the legal opinions on things, correct? What we were doing. So things weren't happening very quickly,
Once you guys made this motion, there was a agreement drafted and sent to the prosecutor, and then the prosecutor came back with something that was not in line with what was discussed. And so we talked about that a few weeks ago. And so then we had to figure out, well, what are we going to do? And that's why we reached out to outside counsel to get a second opinion.
And when we said that, I looked over to Commissioner DeBoer and I said that this agreement is not what we had agreed on. We basically agreed that 1.3 was going to be transferred to them, no repayment, and that 565 or whatever that was going to be, when the FAA sent that back, was going to be that was going to basically go to them to be able to fund their future projects.
I do have concerns though about them applying for a grant when they already have our money and we don't get that refund. I think that's a potential fraud issue and that we should at least have the prosecutor look into that element.
I don't know if it's, I think we did look into it, and at the time, the information I believe that Jerry got us is the fact that the airport was, the board was actually going to be the funding source for that project with the dollars that we were going to transfer them. But then when they were refunded the money went back to the fund from the funding agency, which was the airport. I mean,
to me, that seems very problematic. That if they're applying for a grant, I mean, I'm no expert on this, but it seems problematic if they're applying for a grant and they're saying we need this money, and then they get the money and then they just keep it when we've given this gift for this particular purpose.
Right. And
all I'm saying is I would just want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves there because it seems problematic to me, but I'm not an expert on that.
and nor am I, and I think that was, something that I'm sure that their legal counsel also looked at, that's familiar with a lot of the airport functions and a lot of the grants that they've been doing, pretty heavy duty, for the last probably 6 years now. And so.
I mean, the Airport Authority Board is great people. They know their stuff. And they had been doing something right to receive a $3.1 million grant that we signed on 2 weeks ago. It's not, and I will continually want to help the airport out as much as we can. I just want to make a motion to table it, get back on this and negotiate something better a little better with the authority. And then that's my thoughts.
So I think if we want to change the terms of the deal, we'd want to make a motion to just rescind the initial resolution.
Yep.
And then we could renegotiate.
Yeah.
But I think that would be the proper way to.
So you would make a motion to rescind the motion from December 17th and replace it with?
Replace it with talks with the Airport Authority as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Get this thing back on track.
Clock is ticking.
I know.
Okay. How does that sound? At least it's still got life. So the motion to table, there was no second.
The reason why I wanted to table it is to just be a continuation of our conversation.
Yeah, I think if we want to change the terms of the deal, I think we need to rescind the initial motion and then we need to renegotiate and decide what the terms of those deals should be. That would be my recommendation. So I'll make a motion to rescind the motion from December 17th, 2024 regarding seat hangar funding.
Okay, second.
Commissioner Spiller,
No.
Commissioner Brady,
Aye.
Commissioner Coyle.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you can get back on it as soon as possible, get this thing done. So, and then I'd like to see a 3-year plan or a 5-year plan or whatever you worked up, Rick. Because I think you still have a 18-year loan on the first hangar that we built about 2.5 years ago. So.
I'm going to need direction, or you guys will have to do yourself, however it is you want to conduct the negotiation. Whether it's by me or you, I'll just need some direction on exactly what you want to do. I understand that the clock is ticking and we would have to get on that right away. So just let me know what you want that to look like.
If you guys are comfortable with me working with the Airport Authority, that's fine.
Okay. So then you'll carry that ball?
Yeah.
Got it.
Just real quick, back on the first part of the report, there was discussion on the UHD. I think that you just need to make a motion then that you are in agreement to remove the commissioner's acknowledgements of that UHC with the airports and, university hospitals air transport. So then they would, so that means we can then give it
Just
back
give
to
it to
them and they
Yeah.
can move forward with what they can do now that we have the insurance. certificate
Was
in
there,
place.
was there a prior motion that we need to rescind, or we just need to say that?
Nothing has
decision
been
is here?
taken, and no action has been taken because we're waiting for the insurance certificate to come through, from UH to be updated, including you guys in the airport as additional insurance. And so we've been, finally, yesterday, we made some headway on where we were at with that. So I just think that if you're in agreement to remove the commissioners from, being part of that agreement, that we just need to have some kind of motion to do that.
Is there a motion?
So I'll make a motion to not acknowledge the UH annual lease with, the airport authority.
I second.
Commissioner Spillier.
Yes.
Commissioner Brady.
Aye.
Commissioner Boyd.
Yes. Is that between UH and the airport authority?
Do you think we need a motion for them to assign this negotiation to Commissioner Dvorak, or as board president, that's something that he would?
I
Okay.
think that he's gonna renegotiate, he's gonna have to come back to them as a joint board, to make the final decision on where they go, so. Actually, what you decide to do.
Sounds good.
I have one thing, about the planning commission. I'd like to make a motion to have, Philip C. Miller put on the planning commission, along with, Enzo Perfecto and Nick Goris. We never voted him in at our regular meeting.
Yes, they did.
They did?
Yes, they took action, at the end of the December 17th meeting to reappoint Mr. Forrest and appoint Mr. Perfetto. So the only seat that was vacant was, one. And, that's why I sent the applications to all of you. Ms. Brady was looking at doing some additional research on her own, on filling that vacancy. So,
Well, the reason why I want to make a motion for Philip C. Miller is because next Tuesday they have a meeting at 7:30.
Yeah, that's,
So that's my motion.
and I know there was a desire for an Amish.
Yeah,
I didn't see you as we're trying to put on another.
Philip C. Miller.
And you made.
It's a lot of Miller.
Did you make?
I think so.
that? Okay, I'll second.
Commissioner Spiller.
Second.
Commissioner Brady.
Aye.
Commissioner Boyd.
Yes.
Okay. And when you know that.
You want me to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, I would just like to call attention to the fact that the solid waste district every 5 years has to update a plan. And as part of that, they invite public participation in that process. And so they asked us to make our residents aware that the period of, I think it's February 3rd to March 5th is when they are open to hearing from you. We have posted this on our website. I'm sure it's on theirs as well. And if you want to do any kind of commenting about the county's solid waste management plan.
Thank you for that public announcement.
What about this courthouse shower? Did we talk about that?
We decided to wait because we're waiting to hear from the judges about exactly why they want the showers in the courthouse basement.
So who would this shower be for?
For employees, is my understanding.
Yeah, that's where we need more explanation.
Because was that on the original plan
No, this would be,
to clear your name, correct? And to be in that position, I think that that's something that, I've been very cautious in what I've said to people, based on the whole privacy issues. But, it's something that continues to keep coming up.
really,
Yes, and so I'd like to try to figure out what are we gonna do.
that would be up to the board. If you choose to issue any client privilege, then that could be released or some kind of, I don't know, press release or something.
Because I know that you had asked us, earlier, in like December, when that came up about that, and I know that you were talking to all the different individual commissioners, and I at that time told you 100%. I don't know if you talked to everybody else at that time, but I said, I have no issues with that.
I appreciate that.
To me, that feels a bit like airing dirty laundry that we don't necessarily need to. I mean, I think it's important to say that there was an investigation conducted and Ms. Perhani was found to be without fault. And I personally, I don't want to release the report. I just don't think we need to get into those sort of personnel decisions in public.
And I think that there's a lot of people out there that felt that those, accusations, if they held the water, were pretty serious. And just think that just telling people somebody's exonerated, I don't know, and I guess I put myself in that spot. If somebody said that, I would want them to be able to see what was actually investigated and said, right?
I appreciate that, but I want you to know that for me personally, what I was looking for was exoneration, and I got it. That I didn't do anything wrong, and that the public is aware I didn't do anything wrong is enough for me.
Right, but I don't think that the public necessarily thinks that, because the questions keep coming to me. So if they didn't, I probably wouldn't hear it. So that's why I'm bringing this up, is if it would go silent, then I'd say maybe it's gone away. But at the same time, I don't, I continuously get those questions, and I just, I just don't feel, and I'm starting to get the feeling like I'm trying to hide something by saying I can't really talk about it. And I don't like being in that position on something as simple as what this investigation probably was. And I feel like I'm trying to conceal something that maybe they're assuming, and I'm not. So that's why I just, I feel that that's a, it comes up more frequently than you think. And it seems like that amount of people that are asking those questions become more. So that's why I just would like to see it stop. And I think that sometimes transparency is the best policy on that.
Do we need a motion?
So waive attorney-client privilege.
Just as it pertains to this particular report.
I think that's a short summary, just 1 or 2 sentences, that you were, accused of something and you were totally exonerated. Just keep it short. Because if you go back farther, anybody that's accused of something and they report something to the prosecutor or police department or whatever, they have an obligation to investigate this and have an investigation and come up with a result. And that's exactly what happened. Because if a prosecutor or whatever doesn't react, then it's a writ of mandamus, him not doing his job. Even if it's a bogus claim that somebody did this or that, he still has to investigate it.
The problem is that false accusations are very damaging to a person's reputation.
Yes.
And my reputation has taken me 30 years to build. And it was very hurtful to me when these accusations were made. And it was a great relief to me when an outside counsel came in and performed the investigation and determined that I had not done anything wrong. How much detail needs to go into that? That's a call for you guys to make, not for me. But it was pretty hurtful.
Public comment.
Yep.
So do we not want to do anything then with this?
I personally don't want to waive attorney-client privilege.
Just 1 or 2 sentences that you were, accused of something and you're totally exonerated. You put in there, you're a great person too, so whatever.
She's been very helpful to us.
Yes, absolutely. It's a real asset to the.
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing is that we're moving forward. I mean, I think there's been a lot of cooperation between different departments in this county in the last wrong that we haven't seen before, and I don't want to take a step back from that.
I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to look at that in that fashion, but at the same time, I don't know what to tell people anymore when they're basically, I'm saying that it all went well and she was exonerated and that it was unfounded, that any of those allegations. However, it's basically, you know, very much being questioned, I guess. And I think that we had the ability of being transparent with it and being able to say, here it is, it's reported, it was investigated, and here's the investigation, and you were completely cleared of any wrongdoing. Makes it pretty simple, because I feel like it's almost like, I feel like, what are we hiding? We're not hiding anything, right? We're saying you're exonerated, so you're exonerated. But at the same time, I feel like it's like the allegations were made against you and they were investigated. And I think that, you know, as much as I hear about it, I just feel that something's got to be, we need to solidify this somehow, some more.
Let me think about that more, Commissioner.
Okay.
If that's fair, because I mean, I wasn't expecting this. If, to be honest, no one's ever said anything to me about this. I get called, I mean, I'm still getting called like dog work, but I don't get the other stuff. Yeah, I'm 10 years from now, I'm gonna be hearing about the dog work. But, I personally have never reached out about this.
All right, we'll keep moving on. Any public comment?
Howard, South Russell Village, leave the airport alone. Those people know what they're doing over there. And you people are just making a mess out of it. Leave the airport alone. Enough said.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Spitarelli, you said you hope the airport legal counsel looks into action it can take against the commissioners.
Right.
Please clarify.
So that to basically, if they want to litigate or take some kind of legal action against us to get what we agreed on in December, we weren't mincing words. Our position was to give the airport the $1.3 million with no other strings attached. It was that simple, to improve our airport and the future of our airport. That's it.
Amen.
What would be the goal of that going to litigation?
To basically clear it up that they received the funding that they're due.
Could you state your name and what paper you're on?
Anastasia Nicholas,
Right, because we're on camera.
Chagrin Valley Times.
Okay. Next question.
Yeah, we're a state League of Women Voters. Back to item 11, the mental health and addiction project. You said that the county might now be able to accept the grant. What was the amount of that grant?
$1 million. And it was to be added to the bucket of money to pay for the youth center.
Okay. And my second question is, I'm pretty confused about this last discussion. Was there an indictment against, or criminal action against Ms. Branch? So this was an internal investigation, is that correct?
Yeah, internal.
Okay, thank you.
There a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
No, Mr. Kelly, announce your name, please.
Okay, Tom Jones, Auburn Township. I'd like to request a couple minutes with Commissioner Berkey after the meeting.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Yes, sir. Well, I tell you,
$500. We're gonna need.
Right.
I want to ask about my son. If there's a code in it, that's what I'm asking about my sweater.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. You guys need something that.
No.
Right?
Well,
I mean, possibly,
Well,
things
right,
like that.
right. So I mean, you can't give us a Volkswagen, you know what I mean?
Well, you probably don't want a sedan, right?
Well, right,
Yeah.
right. So I'm just saying, if there's a vehicle that's in good shape, I'm not talking about some rust truck.
Yes.
If you guys just, you know, because it's some kind of
Picking
cycle
up on here.
that doesn't have a million miles on it.
Yeah, I'll let Tammy and Sue know in maintenance,
Right,
because they kind of handle the stuff that goes up in the wheels and everything.
yes,
And if they see something that will suck the goal, they'll
Right.
give you a call.
good, okay. We just, we shall, you know, it's just that when we have that big, you know, TS 200, I mean, she started to run a bit. Well, it makes great sense, but we think that you know, 90%.
That's a good.
No, it's not. So I just don't want her to be.
Thanks, Howard.
So it's now. Okay.
Don't worry, we won't blame you for anything.
Well, it's always been in the works for the last, probably 20 years, so.
Hey, how are you? Well, how you doing, Rusty?
How are you? Yeah, so tomorrow, you, tomorrow's for elections, or, but we're here to, here's what you're, I don't think anybody else there.